Hi, Matt.
Hey, Ray.
So you've been the finance director for over 6 years with the city of Salinas. Can you tell us sort of what are your overall responsibilities to the city as the finance director?
Sure. So I manage and direct a department. The finance department includes two main sections, the finance and IT pieces. And in the finance section, we have accounting, purchasing, deferred comp, payroll, paying our bills, collecting money, and we also have our miscellaneous billing. So we're largely a support department to the other departments in the city. The information services manages our city network, all the computers, equipping all the departments to do their business, and software integration, so all the programs that we use, making sure they all connect and are working and supported by the hardware, the software, and the network, and help desk for all the departments. So we deploy individuals out to help with printer problems and so forth. So largely a support department, and then of course supporting the annual budget is a big part of our annual work program. Preparing the annual financial statements, which includes an audit from an external auditor that they come in and audit our books. And so those are the two main bookends of our work product, and of course all the day-to-day things that go on.
So one of the major initiatives was to really come into the 21st century with your technology, right?
That's right.
So in the last year and a half, you had some technological new applications, right?
That's
that
right.
you've implemented, you've selected and then implemented, right? So tell us a little bit about that system and what it will do for the city.
Sure. That was a big accomplishment. Took a lot of hours and a lot of grit and sweat by all of the departments and my staff to implement. It was a citywide what they call ERP, Enterprise Resource Planning app tool, a new software application that was about $1.5 million budget, and it involved all the departments. And there's a financial management component of it. There's a HR, human resource, payroll component, and another business license component. So the financial management component, it took us from a 30-year-old legacy system,
Wow.
Existing software system that we used and leveraged for 30 years, got our money's worth out of it. And so it was a big investment to upgrade and modernize the whole software that we use to manage our operations from an accounting standpoint, from processing a purchase order to paying our bills. That's now done paperless. We were heavy paper-driven in our processes, and now each department can manage their own budget and have more autonomy and discretion on moving dollars around. They don't have to fill out a paper and say, submit it to us, and we make the adjustment for them. They get online. There's an electronic approval process, so it goes to the different levels of approval to help them manage their budget, help us manage overall stewardship of the public funds. So a great improvement and very exciting. Of course, I mean, it touched all areas. The payroll, employees can look at their pay stubs electronically online. They can request changes to the information. They can do some of it, manage themselves, and so a big improvement for everybody. Even vendors now can register as a vendor and submit invoices electronically, and we can pay them electronically. So really a big investment and to modernize and help us be more efficient.
Right. So it took a while to implement that, right? It was
That's
a big change in the culture and in how you complete and initiate transactions.
That's
for
right.
all those different functions that you're responsible for. So that must have been quite a challenge in
Yes.
getting people used to the system, training them.
Yes, and that was a great and fun part of the process. Is we involved all the departments from the initial selection to making a final decision, and then in the training. And we did extensive training of all the department personnel, got them up to speed to how to use the system. Our budget system is another example of, we just annually we do refresher training, and so each department now can enter their proposed budget and make changes themselves, run reports to see and review it at a detailed level or at a high level. So it was again citywide, and everybody rose up to the challenge. I've done 5 of these in my career, and so there is always a question whether people will embrace change, and managing that change is important. And our city employees really rose up to that challenge and loved it. And I think in this day and age, they expect it. So we recognized that we needed to make a change, and it was widely embraced in our environment. So I was very impressed, and there's continual refinement of that, each of the processes as we implement, and we kind of step back and evaluate how well it's working. And we've done some refinements and even implemented some new features that come on board, and or kind of phase in some of the features that we didn't quite get to as we go along.
So give us a little overview where we are in the current budget process, because the city's fiscal year starts July 1 of every year.
That's
and
right.
then ends the following year on June 30th. So we're winding down our current fiscal year.
Getting close.
Right.
Yes.
And so we're preparing to close that out in the next few months. And then we're going to be asking the council to consider and review and approve the next fiscal year budget, right?
That's right.
So give us an up-to-date status of where we are on the budget, Matt, and what some of the challenges might be.
Sure. So maybe starting with the budget process, we look at all of the city's revenue. That's one place that we start, and we project out over a 5-year, sometimes longer, a horizon, what the future stream of revenue for the city is going to be. And as you know, and have gone through many cycles of economic changes, where the revenues of the city will go through some valleys and then peaks. So that's very important. We keep a close eye on all of our revenue stream and understand what those are. For our city, the major revenue stream is sales tax. Retail sales, there's a percentage that comes to the city. It's 1%. So of every dollar spent, 1% of the state initiated sales tax comes to the city for our services. We also have 2 revenue measures. The voters of the city entrusted the city with an additional 1.5 cent through Measure V, 1/2 cent, and Measure G, a 1 cent. So that's the main revenue source. Property tax is number 2. Our utility users tax is number 3, and then we have business license and franchise fees, some other revenues. But the 2 biggest are property tax and sales tax. So making sure that's our starting point. It tells us how much of resources we have available. And then we go to the departments. 80% of our costs in each department is personnel. We're a service-oriented business. We provide service to the community, and accordingly, 80%, the largest portion, is people providing service. And then about 20% is for other costs, such as outsourcing certain things, contractual services. And so we ask the departments, here's our estimated revenue, and it's only increased X amount, or we're projecting it to increase X amount, and so the labor costs with everything built in, which continue to go up. We only have little bit left over, so this is our constraint. So we need you to formulate your budget, either hold the line, or we do have some room capacity to grow. And with the passage of Measure G, part of what we promised the community to do with those funds is restore services to the community and and help with building our community.
But on a scale, I mean, just the scope of when we talk about revenues, like, how many millions of dollars might we be looking at for next fiscal year in terms of total revenue?
Yeah, it's going to be roughly $3 additional million on top of our about 90 million, so it'll be in the 93 million. So a small percentage, just a little less than 3% growth that we're expecting, and a lot of that will be part of our employee costs that grow. We have health insurance, which is out of our control, that has been growing.
Right.
There's other retirement costs that, based on policy changes at the state level, are beyond our control, that are hitting us. So it is a challenge to have additional resources to do a little more. And our departments are very proactive in their desire to serve the community and grow the services and add even staffing, which is a challenge, to do the work, which they're all good things. It's just, we don't always have the resources. And financial management is a big part of this job, is to look at the resources and let the departments know, communicate to the departments and keep you abreast of where we're at and where we're heading and what constraints we may be faced with.
Right. So it sounds like a few of the challenges for the upcoming year may be a change in the retirement system,
Yes.
Discount formula.
That's right.
And then, of course, as you mentioned, there's no direct control over health care costs. We are subject to whatever those are that's provided by our health care providers. And even though we try to look for the best deal, if you will,
Right. We do shop
for
around.
our employees. So tell us a little bit more in terms of the state. How does that affect the budget? It is a direct cost right off the top in terms of what we are contributing, our share
Right.
of the retirement system, right, for the city of Salinas is like a first priority or first lien on the budget, it seems.
Right. Yes. Yeah, it is one that we are committed to and locked into providing benefits to our employees, and we've negotiated that with the labor groups, and we've done a lot to try to help control those costs, and I'll touch on that. But so just to describe, so we have all our employees, and they have a share of, it's a retirement pension plan, and the city has a cost associated. So each pay period, we calculate based on the formula they give us what portion of the payroll the cost is. So we calculate that, and then we remit it to CalPERS each month, or each pay period actually. So they control the pension. They have a board, and that board makes policy decisions on how to manage the fund or the pension fund, and they look at future trends. They have to make assumptions that are built in, and one of the assumptions is the return on investment. And historically, CalPERS has done very well at investing this pension fund, and 60% of pension funds are actually funded through investment returns, and not a lot of people realize that. 60% of the money that are paid to retirees are actually from investment earnings that the pension fund generates, which is huge. It's not all coming from the city. They estimate 7.5. They changed their policy to reduce it to 7. which is a big impact to all.
7%.
7%. So
Right.
that's what they're projecting. There is even some talk about reducing even further. The result of that policy change is good for them because they can sleep at night, but the impact on the city is significant because now the city needs to pay a little more to make up for that shortfall in the investment returns. And so our rates are going to go up. There's 3 different rate changes that are phased in, and beyond the 3, they phase it in over a 7-year period. So we know about it ahead of time, and the impact will begin not next fiscal year, but the year after, and then 7 years. So we're already looking ahead. We've projected out what the full impact will be by the 7th year, and it's significant. It's something that will impact how much resources are available to do other things. So we want to manage that as best we can.
The dilemma always has
Right.
been whether or not you can change the current benefit
Right.
packages that are under this obligation for
Vested with
retirement.
employees.
Right. Can you reduce the benefits of the current CalPERS recipients or the future CalPERS recipients if they already joined into the plan? Can you reduce those benefits? So there probably more to come
We'll
at the
see.
state and federal level. There are
Looking
some
at that.
cases at it, right? And I know that a couple other cities tried to push an initiative so that flexibility in terms of the benefit and
Right.
how you might define those was not passed by, didn't get enough votes to even put it on the ballot, but I know there will be other attempts. Some of the larger cities have huge unfunded liabilities,
Yeah.
and so it's a big statewide problem.
Yeah, it is a big challenge,
Yeah.
especially with the last market decline.
Right,
Most of the plans were on a stable footing
right.
and were earning good returns, but with this last great recession, it really has come to fruition. I know with our city, we've been successful at a number of pension reform initiatives. We are actually on our, as you know, on our 3rd tier. We had one that I think it was 2013, and then another one in 14, and then the state did theirs, and then I think we did one more where we are not changing existing employees, but we were able to create different new tiers, reducing the benefit formula for new employees. So they already, when they sign on to be an employee with the city, they already realize what their what the formula is, and it's still attractive
Right.
pension package.
And the other
Save money.
uncontrollable cost basically is what we're charged for our health costs
That's
or
right.
the health premiums that we pay to our health provider, right?
That's right. Yeah.
And what does that run in terms of the scope and scale of that issue related to the budget? I know that we have really good benefits for city employees, and health is one of those.
Right. Yeah. Healthcare employees can either insure themselves or them and themselves and their spouse, or there's a family coverage, and we have a whole menu of different plans, and we have a cap at one level, so if they go for the premium package, they have to chip in a little money to pay for that, which is good, and so we that health coverage includes dental, vision, and then regular medical health, and it is a good package for employees. And we have, in the last round of bargaining with the labor group, since healthcare costs have been going up a lot more than our revenue as far as percentage changes, we have been looking, and it's in the industry, municipal industry is becoming more and more common to see employees share in the cost. So as healthcare goes way up, the employees are getting the benefit of that, but now we're asking them to pay a share of that increased cost, which is
Right.
helpful to defray the big increases that aren't sustainable. So they recognize that one, everybody else is doing it, and two, the private sector has been doing it a lot longer already, and so this is the right thing to do.
Right. So going back to where we are in the budget process, we're now preparing a budget for the council to review and approve for the next fiscal year. So tell us a little bit more about the timing of
Sure.
how that will work.
So we have the departments have completed their proposed budget, and now we're doing the final compilation of the budget, and part of that compilation is to make sure it's balanced.
Right.
And then
And that's the state law.
yes.
Right.
And so we will present an initial draft of the proposed budget to the City Council on May 30th at a study session. That'll be a public meeting, and it will be the only agenda item, so we're pretty much dedicating the whole afternoon and evening to reviewing, and the departments will present their basically budget proposal for the coming fiscal year. We do have some committees. We have the Measure V committee and Measure G committee that are a body that's selected by the council of community members that will review and provide guidance and make sure we're spending the Measure V funding and Measure G on the original intent of those revenue measures, so there's a little bit of accountability there. And so they will present and show them, here's our spending plan for the Measure V funds and how we're going to use it, and also the Measure G committee. And so that'll happen actually next Thursday, and the Thursday after will be the two meetings. And then, so after the council study session on the 30th, then we'll move it forward to City Council meeting for adoption.
How does it look at the state and federal level? I know there have been, messages from, for example, from the federal government that there might be substantial cutbacks in some of the domestic
That's right.
programs. The state's concerned about perhaps, not receiving as much revenue that in the near projection. I know the governor has a May revise, and which is coming up.
Yeah.
And there might be sort of some dampening, I guess, of state expenditures, and how that may affect cities like ours. So both at the federal and state level,
Yeah.
it's quite, at least it looks like it's a mixed bag at this point in terms of trying to figure out what
What's
the
gonna happen.
opportunities are. We know that infrastructure is important, but we know that also other programs are probably headed for either elimination or severe reductions.
That's right. So, yeah, what I've seen with the new President Trump is that he wants to invest in building, America as far as capital and infusing and making funds available to do things, nationally, state and regional and local. So we will probably see funds related to that, and at the same time, there's a lot of federal grant money that we've historically received that we're going to see decrease, and we've already been seeing somewhat of a change, but we expect to receive an even bigger decrease in that. So we'll have to react and shuffle things around a little bit, and obviously focusing on defense spending. That new administration has a different way of allocating their resources, so we'll see an impact to us on that. As far as the state, Governor Brown has been very keen on the future, and a recession is looming, and we, historically we look back and we see market corrections and cyclical nature of our economy going up and down, and we have revenue sources that are keenly tied into these ups and downs, such as sales tax. So we have to be really careful, and we are planning for another correction, and our revenue growth estimates for the future are conservative, and we factor in those cyclical changes. So the state, the transportation funding is something new that they've signed in and agreed to, so that's helping with our infrastructure. But there may be other things that they'll cut back on, and we'll be watching that closely to see
Right.
kind of what impact that is.
Right. So more
To us.
more to come on the budget.
That's right.
For the next 30 days, and the fiscal year then starts July 1. So it sounds like, though, we're in decent shape in terms of being able to have a balanced budget and continue most of the essential services of the city into the next fiscal year.
That's right. Yeah, we're managing our budget like we've continued to do, and with the resources we have,
Right.
we put those to good use.
Right. Well, this has been very interesting, the overview of finance and all the responsibility you have as a finance
Thanks.
director. And then, of course, people see that working as we put the budget together, and then it kind of disappears. We have the budget, it's approved, and then people have services and they carry those out.
Mm-hmm.
And then you're in the background trying to make sure that all the systems are working, and there's
Mm-hmm.
accountability,
Mm-hmm.
checks and balances, and ensuring that we're complying with all the requirements. So it's quite a big job.
It is.
Yeah.
I love my job, and I appreciate working with you. You make my job easy, being a great leader of the community, and we have great departments and great staff. So it's really blessed and fortunate to have be able to serve the community and work with such a great team. So
Yeah.
thanks.
Thank you very much, Matt.
Yeah, thank you, Ray.
Yeah.
Appreciate it.